Before everything started to unravel, Ethan Prescott was a standout in his family's aeronautical empire. Known for his fresh thinking and tireless work ethic, he was quickly becoming the future of the business. His family's massive estate, surrounded by old ginkgo trees, flowering hedges, and stone pathways, stood as a monument to tradition, where individuality often got buried beneath expectation. Still, Ethan harbored quiet ambitions of stepping out from under his father's suffocating control and his older brother Troy Jr.'s domineering shadow. He wanted more than to be just another Prescott. He wanted a legacy of his own. On the outside, Ethan had it all, a thriving career and what appeared to be a solid marriage. He met Lana at a charity swim event, where she skillfully inserted herself into his social group. Her energy was electric, her presence bold. Ethan mistook her relentless self-interest for charm. She told him she was pregnant not long after they met, and thinking it was the honorable thing to do, he married her. What Ethan couldn't have guessed was the level of deception already woven into Lana's actions. She wasn't simply ambitious, she was calculating. And her eye had always been on more than just Ethan. Meanwhile, Troy Jr., Ethan's older brother, was a volatile presence. Loud, aggressive, and heavily dependent on steroids, Troy thrived on dominance and scandal. Despite it all, their parents clearly favored him. Ethan was often left to handle family disputes alone, expected to be the peacekeeper while Troy wreaked havoc. It didn't take long for Troy and Lana to become more than just acquaintances. Their connection grew behind Ethan's back, sparking a toxic alliance that would slowly unravel Ethan's life. To outsiders, Ethan and Lana looked like the perfect couple, but in reality, their home was thick with tension. Lana's spending became excessive, her attitude manipulative. She was no longer pretending to be the woman Ethan fell for, and her relationship with Troy deepened in secret. Ethan, consumed by work and caring for his children, remained blind to the betrayal unfolding behind closed doors. Lana and Troy plotted freely, confident in Ethan's trust. One evening, on the terrace at the Traveler's Inn, a woman holding a glass of red wine leaned toward Lana during a casual gathering. "Have you spoken to your ex-husband since the divorce?" Lana paused. The question stirred something sharp and guarded in her. "No," she replied coolly. "Since the day I threw him out and handed over the divorce papers, with a restraining order, he's been out of our lives. He tried contacting the kids, but once I told them the truth about what he did to us, they didn't want to hear from him." Kara, the newcomer to the group, blinked. "That sounds intense. Was it messy?" "There's still a lot of damage," Lana said, sipping her wine like punctuation. "He fought it for a while. Spent a year trying to convince the kids to talk to him. They weren't interested. Eventually, he signed the papers and disappeared. Truth is, he's been gone for 2 years. Good riddance." Kara raised an eyebrow. "So what actually ended it?" Lana's eyes turned sharp. "He cheated. With his old flame, Sienna Cole." A voice behind them cut in. "Ethan cheated? That doesn't sound like him. And if I had, trust me, I'd remember." Everyone turned. It was Sienna, her voice calm, but unmistakably pointed. Lana's face tightened. Well, look who decided to show up." Sienna tilted her head. "Look who's talking. You were already messing with Ethan when I was still around. And now you want to blame your disaster of a marriage on me. When exactly are you claiming this happened?" Lana snapped. 2 years ago," Sienna answered evenly. "But you already know that." Lana scoffed. "If I slept with Ethan, I'd know. 2 years ago, I was in Edinburgh, studying linguistics 5,000 miles away. I can prove it. Unlike you, I've got receipts. I've been overseas for the past 3 years. Before that, I taught across the country." Lana's bravado faltered. Her face paled, just slightly. If Sienna was telling the truth, then who had Ethan actually been seeing? Lana clung to her narrative. "He cheated. End of story." "Or maybe," Sienna said calmly, "your little power plays pushed him out. Maybe his parents even believed your lies." Lana flushed, her tone turning venomous. "He wasn't fooled. He just followed you." Sienna stepped closer. "Are you even sure those kids are his?" "I could ask, but I've got more pressing things to do. Like visiting Ethan's parents. They deserve to know what really happened." Panic flashed in Lana's eyes. "Don't you dare. You'll regret it." Sienna arched a brow. "Life hasn't treated you kindly, has it? All that foundation can't hide the cracks. I'm going to the Prescott house. I'll give them the truth. Bye, Lana." She walked off and headed for the estate, memories flooding back as she pulled into the long driveway. The 3 parking spots near the gate, the towering trees, and the polished granite steps, it was all exactly as she remembered. Sienna climbed the steps, laptop in hand, and knocked. Ethan's grandfather answered. Yes, young lady, he asked. Good afternoon, Mr. Prescott, she said. I'm Sienna Cole. Do you remember me? The old man's eyes narrowed slightly in recognition. Ah, yes. Your name came up during the drama with Ethan's wife. That's why I'm here, Sienna said. Ethan didn't cheat on Lana with me. I was living in Edinburgh the entire time, and I can back that up with documentation. The man studied her face for a moment, then gave a slight smile. Call me Troy Sr. He nodded. It takes guts to come here. My son and daughter-in-law have their opinions about Ethan, but I don't buy it. He's not the kind of man to do what they're accusing him of. Sienna exhaled. Why do you believe that? Because you seem sincere, Troy Sr. replied. And Ethan's my grandson. I know his heart. Sienna hesitated, then smiled softly. He doesn't know it yet, but I plan to be the next Mrs. Prescott. First, I just need to find him. Troy Sr.'s eyes twinkled. He's been keeping a low profile, not in touch with anyone. But between you and me, he's at St. Christopher's Crossing, back at university. He's doing well. Let's keep that between us. Sienna smiled. For the first time in a long while, things felt like they were finally turning around. I've officially accepted a position at the university, and soon, I'll be seeing him again. Just then, a voice rang out from inside the house. Dad? Who's out there? Troy turned to Sienna with a grin. You know where the kitchen is, right? She gave a quick nod, but as she pivoted to go, she nearly collided with Ethan's mother, Margot, who looked absolutely livid. You've got some nerve showing up here, Margot snapped. You destroyed my son's marriage, and now you think you can just waltz in? Troy quickly stepped between them. Margot, she's my guest, he said, trying to de-escalate. At least hear her out. She says she wasn't even in the country when all that happened. But Margot wasn't buying it. She shot a glare at Sienna. I don't believe a word you're saying. Sienna calmly lifted her laptop and gave Troy a confident smile. I can show you the evidence. An hour later, Sienna stood facing Margot, who still looked unconvinced, and Troy, who now seemed even angrier. So what's the plan now? Margot asked, her voice tight and restrained. Sienna took a breath and decided not to sugarcoat it. I'm leaving tomorrow. Ethan and I got close quickly, but everything changed when Lana came into the picture. She explained how she lost not only a close friend, but someone who might have been her soulmate to Lana's manipulations. But she didn't bring up her suspicions about Lana's pregnancy. That part, she figured, was Ethan's story to share, if she ever found him. Hearing that, Margot looked stunned. Learning that the woman who had once given her grandchildren might have orchestrated it all clearly shook her. Maybe Ethan Jr. should meet you too, Margot offered cautiously. Would you like to stay for dinner? You could talk to my husband, Randall, about your work. Sienna declined politely but firmly. Thank you, but I'm getting ready for a new job, she said, not revealing any details about where. As she gathered her things and headed out, Margot turned her back for a moment, then said softly, Sienna, if you do find Ethan, please let us know. We've all made some terrible choices. I just want my son back. Sienna gave a quiet nod. If I do find him, I'll pass along your message. But I can't say where he is. Ethan disappeared for a reason. He doesn't want to be found. As she walked toward her car, she noticed a large man approaching. Something about his build and gait triggered a memory. Ethan's brother, she thought, watching the heavy-set man hobble forward. He was broad, thick-necked, and moved with a stiff awkwardness as if his own body weighed him down. Troy Prescott, Ethan's brother, eyed Sienna with mild recognition. The dark-haired woman looked familiar, but he couldn't quite place her. Could use a better chest, he thought crudely, but damn, those legs. The fantasy cut short as he lumbered into the house. Not a guest, he muttered to his grandfather, glancing back at Sienna as she neared the gate. Troy replied flatly. Yes, old friend of Ethan's. Says she's trying to reconnect. But we've got no idea where he is, do we? Worthless cheating bastard, Troy Jr. growled. Hope he stays gone. He then trudged upstairs to the private apartment his family had built for him after the accident. Meanwhile, Lana sat alone, reflecting on her life. Ethan, 2 years her junior, had been in her orbit for a while. Their kids, now 16 and 15, had been born close together. She first spotted Ethan at the end of a 10K swim. Initially, he hadn't registered as anything special. But when a striking girl with dark hair helped him out of his wetsuit, Lana's interest peaked. Ethan was lean, strong, and had that magnetic charm. And even though the girl was probably his girlfriend, Lana didn't care. She began plotting. 6 months later, her persistence paid off. His girlfriend had conveniently moved away, And Ethan, naturally shy, finally let his guard down. Eventually, he brought her to a family barbecue. That's when she learned Ethan was the youngest of three. He had an older sister and a much heavier, loudmouth brother. At that barbecue, Lana couldn't help but notice the contrast between Ethan and Troy. While Ethan was all quiet intensity, Troy was brash and attention-hungry. He took a keen interest in Lana right away. Within 2 weeks, he had her moved into a hotel. A month later, Lana missed her period. When she nervously asked Troy what to do, he just laughed. "You should have been on the pill," he scoffed, dismissing her like she was an idiot. Over time, things blurred. Lana's connection with both brothers twisted into something darker. She married Ethan in a small ceremony. He was dependable, a safe choice. But Troy? He was the secret thrill, the bad boy she couldn't resist. Ethan was solid in bed, but Troy was raw, reckless, and all about the moment. The secrecy? That just made it hotter. 13 years later, Troy finally paid the price. His steroid abuse caught up with him. He collapsed mid-workout and barely survived. Doctors diagnosed him with a ruptured myocardium, his heart wrecked from years of drug use. After surgery, his once muscle body turned to sagging flesh. He was broken and bitter. From there, Troy began playing puppet master. He fed Lana lies, planting seeds of doubt. "You shouldn't have to scrape by," he'd say. "You deserve more than Ethan's sad little life." Soon, Lana was demanding more. A new car, more money, more of everything. One day, mid-rant, Ethan simply walked away. She shouted after him, but he shut the office door in her face. When she followed him in, Ethan didn't yell. He didn't plead. He just looked her dead in the eye and told her to leave. That was the moment Lana knew she'd pushed too far. Ethan had always been the patient one. But now he was done. Years of sacrifice, of grinding toward taking over the family business, had led to betrayal. His father had shoved him aside and handed the reins to Troy. Ethan knew Troy had something to do with it, but by then, he didn't care anymore. When his father tried to force him into a non-compete agreement, Ethan just laughed in his face and walked out, singing Tommy by the Who under his breath. Not long after, a competitor made Ethan a better offer: fewer hours, better pay, more freedom. But Ethan had already planned his exit. Years ago, he'd started a side business, quietly funneling freelance income through offshore accounts in Luxembourg. Lana had never questioned where the money came from. Now, Ethan made sure every cent went offshore. He decided it was time to scale back and spend real time with his kids. Then one morning, while reading the paper over breakfast, Lana stormed into the kitchen, fire in her eyes. "Where were you last night?" she demanded. Ethan's voice was calm but firm as he stared across the kitchen. "I've been grinding out 15-hour days for weeks. I'm over it. I've cut my schedule to 30 hours a week. If that's not enough for you, maybe it's time you found a job." He paused deliberately, letting the weight of his next words settle. "The way you've been treating me lately? It's not okay. If this keeps up, we're heading for divorce." Without waiting for a reaction, he grabbed his coat and headed out for breakfast, leaving Lana standing there, stunned and speechless. Still reeling, Lana picked up her phone and called the one person she knew would take her side: Troy. "Ethan's being impossible," she said, her voice tight with frustration. "I honestly don't know what to do anymore." On the other end, Troy chuckled with a twisted sense of satisfaction. "Don't worry," he said with a smirk she couldn't see but surely felt. "I've got a plan B." Later that day, Ethan's secretary entered his office with a concerned look. "There's someone here to see you." An older woman stepped in, handed him 2 sealed envelopes, and said, "You've been served." As she walked away, she muttered to the clerk nearby, "Please take care of him." Ethan opened the envelopes and felt the floor fall out beneath him. One was a restraining order forbidding contact with his wife, kids, or even his parents. The other contained an affidavit accusing him of an affair with Sienna Cole. Heartbroken and blindsided, Ethan's life began to unravel. His accounts were frozen, and he was forced to move into a cramped apartment with nothing but the basics. Back at the house, Lana overheard Arya and Noah whispering urgently. "Why don't you ask Uncle Troy?" Lana interjected, trying to help. Arya rolled her eyes. "What could that sweaty creep possibly offer us besides nightmares?" Lana stiffened, but kept her tone even. "He's still your uncle." Arya snapped back. "A great uncle, right? He offered me money to show him my chest. Said I'd get more if I helped him with his urges." Noah added quietly, "That's not even the worst of it." Lana went pale. For once, even she couldn't make excuses for Troy. That night, everything began to crumble. Ethan had always looked out for their kids. Now Lana was left to face the truth and a future where she might have to rely on Troy financially. Regret slowly started sinking in. Elsewhere, Sienna met Professor Malcolm Graves, who recommended housing in St. Christopher's Woods. One lot was ideal, but already taken by a private assistant designing a learning center for the university. Later, Sienna toured the area with Ria Delgado. They found a lot with a permit, and Ria suggested a local designer, an engineer building his own home nearby. Sienna was eager to meet him. Meanwhile, Lana's grandfather sat her down. "Do you know where Ethan is?" he asked gently. She hesitated. "Why are you asking?" He leaned forward. "Because I'm worried. Troy has issues, deep ones. His steroid abuse made them worse." Lana tried to deny it. "I don't know what you're talking about." But Grandpa didn't let up. "Your kids don't look like Ethan. Brown eyes." Ethan had green. Troy has brown eyes. Think about it. Lana's defenses crumbled. "How dare you?" He stared at her, calm and unflinching. "You let Troy manipulate you. You spent more time in his bed than you'd ever admit. And now, what? You want Ethan back?" "Sorry. I'm not helping you." Lana left, rattled. Her grandfather remained behind, wondering if he should write Ethan a letter. Later, Sienna visited Ria's home for the first time. A man answered with a friendly smile. "I'm Colin," he said. Inside, Sienna noticed a scar on his face, one that hinted at a painful past. In the kitchen, she complimented the home. "This place is incredible. How'd you find it?" Ria smiled, then paused. "It's a long story, but it ends well. Maybe someday I'll tell you, if Colin's okay with it." She added, "Ethan's not my biological son. He's Colin's from his first marriage." "Wait. Colin was married?" Sienna asked. "He was widowed," Ria said softly. "And soon, Ethan won't be the only child. I'm expecting." Sienna hugged her. "That's wonderful news." Before she could ask more, Colin stepped back into the room. "Sienna," he said, "I'd like you to meet someone." "Ethan." Sienna's heart jumped. She rushed forward. "Ethan." But his face stayed cold. "Sienna," he said flatly. "It's been a long time." She froze, confused. This wasn't the reunion she imagined. Colin raised an eyebrow. "Wait, you two know each other?" "We used to be friends," Ethan replied. Tears welled up in Sienna's eyes. "Why are you being like this?" "I missed you." Colin and Ria gave them space. In the study, Ethan looked at her with hurt in his eyes. "You told Lana we had an affair. You signed an affidavit that wrecked my marriage. Why would I be happy to see you?" Sienna swallowed hard, voice steady. "Ethan, I lived in Europe for 3 years. I never told her anything. I overheard her bragging and confronted her. I told her I wasn't part of her lies. I even visited your parents and your grandfather. I tried to fix what I could. He told me you were doing well and I might run into you here. I didn't expect it to be so soon, but I had already planned to find you. I've missed you." Ethan's face flushed with emotion. "But what about the affidavit?" he asked, still confused. "It's fake," Sienna replied firmly. "If you still have the original, someone's going to pay for it." Ethan stared at her, shocked. "Sienna, I loved you. I still do. But I thought you betrayed me. I spent so much time wondering what I did wrong." "So, you believe me now?" she asked softly, a spark of hope in her voice. "Of course," Ethan said without hesitation. "You proved it by calling my grandfather. You've never lied to me. I believe you." Relief swept over Sienna. One hurdle down. Now came the hard part, telling him how she really felt. She looked at him, nervous but determined. "So, can we kiss and make up?" She pushed her chair back slowly. Ethan walked over and pulled her into a hug. "Can you forgive me?" he asked, voice low. "For what?" Sienna replied, half offended. "You were manipulated. There's nothing to forgive." Ethan leaned in to kiss her cheek, but Sienna turned quickly and caught his lips instead, kissing him deeply, her tongue brushing gently across his mouth. When she pulled back, she smiled. "Did you just kiss me?" Ethan asked, stunned. "Yep," Sienna said confidently. "I've wanted to do that since I found out you weren't married to her. And just so you know, I told Lana I've got a claim on you. If I'm moving too fast, tell me. But either way, fast or slow, I'm coming for you." Ethan paused, soaking in the moment. "You know I'm still kind of a mess, right? That's why I'm building my place out here. I need space. Time to heal. It's been hard." Sienna looked up at him with certainty. "Let me in. I'm not going anywhere. I know you married her because she was pregnant, but honestly, I'm starting to doubt that child was even yours. Something doesn't add up." Ethan shifted, uncomfortable. "Let's leave that alone for now. Just promise me something. Take the job Professor Graves offered. It's good for you." As they walked back, Sienna smiled at her friends. Problem solved. He's mine now, she whispered playfully. Though he's not totally convinced yet. Rhea laughed and clapped. That was fast. What's next? Rhea asked. Sienna wrapped herself around Ethan, smiling wide. I've got plans. One's about getting justice. The other is never letting him out of my sight. And I need to know who to contact about the land we saw earlier. Dinner that night was full of laughter and light conversation. But later, Sienna turned serious. Ethan, did she ever explain how she had a fully developed baby after just 6.5 months? No, Ethan admitted, shaking his head. I was too overwhelmed to question it. Now? I feel like an idiot. What are you saying? Colin, who'd been silently observing, finally spoke. She's saying that baby may not be yours. That you were set up. Ethan raised a hand. But they look like me, both of them. He trailed off as two women ran up to hug him and whisper something in his ear. Ethan straightened, his expression sharpening. I need to know for sure, he said. Rhea reached over and gently held his hand. Think, Ethan. Anyone else in your family look like you? A cousin, maybe. Sienna's eyes lit up. It has to be Troy. Ethan shook his head. No. They never got along. She couldn't stand him. Rhea raised an eyebrow. Or maybe that's what they wanted you to believe. There's only one way to know, she continued. You'll need a paternity test. And a damn good lawyer. I know just the person, Vivian Holt. She's the best. Can you call her for me, Colin? Ethan asked. Meanwhile, Lana's world was crumbling. 2 weeks after Ethan's grandfather refused to help her, she was still stuck. She needed Troy for money, but didn't want the kids around him. While preparing dinner, a knock came at the door. She opened it to find a man and woman standing outside. Can I help you? She asked. The woman held up an ID. Are you Mrs. Lana Whitmore, ex-wife of Ethan Randall Prescott? Yes, Lana answered slowly. What's going on? The man pulled out a warrant. We need DNA samples from your children. If you refuse, you could be arrested. Why? Lana asked, panic rising. For a paternity test, the woman replied. Lana froze. She'd always believed her kids were the key to getting Ethan back. If he found out they weren't his, she'd lose child support and everything else. At the same time, police and paramedics showed up at the Prescott residence. Troy Sr. watched from a distance, suspecting Sienna had finally reunited with Ethan, and Ethan was putting the pieces together. Troy Jr., however, refused to cooperate. He lashed out and assaulted an officer. He was dragged away in handcuffs, humiliated in front of neighbors. 2 weeks later, Sienna burst into Ethan's apartment, out of breath. Ethan, the results are in. She was nervous. No matter the outcome, it would hurt. They sat side by side while Ethan opened the envelope and read. Sienna watched his face go pale. Ethan, she asked, heart pounding. You okay? You look like you're about to have a heart attack. Ethan shook his head. I'm not, but I might if this keeps up. He looked down at the page again. They're not mine. Both kids Troy's. He clenched the paper. He and that cheating ex-wife of mine, they're going to regret everything they did. Sienna reached out to comfort him, but Ethan remained withdrawn. They shared a brief hug and soft kisses on the cheek, but nothing more. Sienna could only hope that someday, Ethan would feel the same way again. Finally, Ethan looked at her, vulnerable. Sienna, don't take this the wrong way. I love you completely. I've spent years blaming myself for letting Lana pull me away when you weren't around. You deserve more than I can offer right now, but before I give myself to you completely, I need to fix this mess. Even if it's the hard way. I'll handle it. He hesitated. I don't want you caught in the crossfire. If you want to walk away, I'll understand. We can part without bitterness. On my side, at least. Sienna felt a deep wave of relief, like stepping into cool water after a scorching day. She knew how hard it was for Ethan to say any of that, and every word held weight. She leaned in and kissed him, soft but full of feeling. Ethan felt a jolt, surprised by her intensity, and even more by the fact she wasn't pulling away. As their lips barely separated, she whispered, Don't be ridiculous, Ethan. You're stuck with me now. I'm here, she added. For all of it. Ethan wrapped his arms around her, kissing the top of her head. She smells amazing, he thought. Then, a little hesitant, he asked, What if we delay building the house? By the time this is behind us, I could expand mine, to fit both of us. Sienna froze. Was that an invite to move in? She asked carefully. Are you asking me to move in with you? I am, Ethan said, his voice calm but certain. I'm committed to you, Sienna. If you want a ring and a ceremony, I'll give you that. To me, marriage is just a formality, but if it matters to you, I'll do it. I want the ring, she said with a smile. Just a plain gold band. Nothing flashy. Just something that means we're real. Ethan grinned. I'll bring the broom if you pay for the ring. Later that week, Ethan and Sienna met with Vivian Holt. After hearing Ethan lay out his desire for justice, Vivian gave a quiet nod. You don't need me for this, she said. You need someone tougher, faster, and a little more ruthless. I know just the person. I'll introduce you. Meanwhile, Lana was doing chores when she realized, still no word about the DNA results. For a moment, she hoped it had all been forgotten. She'd kept the kids away from Troy lately, leaned on their grandfather's support. Then came a loud knock. When she opened the door, Troy stood there, furious, waving a stack of papers. What the hell is this? He barked. Startled, Lana stepped back. I don't know, you tell me. That idiot brother of mine wants a fortune for raising my kids, Troy snapped. And now he seized all my damn property to get it. Lana sank into a chair, fear pooling in her stomach. Ethan knows. He was coming for her. The man she had betrayed, lied to, used. He was awake now. And he wouldn't stop. She thought. Edmond Dantes would look like a kitten next to him. Then came another knock, louder this time. She reluctantly answered. A small man with glasses and a mustache stood with a woman holding a video camera. Are you Mrs. Lana Whitmore? He asked. When she confirmed, he handed her an envelope. You've been served. Have a good day. He walked away without another word. Lana stood frozen. She slowly opened the envelope, and her heart nearly stopped. DNA results. Ethan wasn't the father of either child. Troy was. There was also a demand. Repayment of every child support payment, with interest. The sum was devastating. Worse, the packet included accusations that Sienna Cole had falsified an affidavit, defamation charges pending. Lana panicked, but Troy tried to soothe her. Don't worry, he said. The company will cover this now. You're the mother of my kids, remember? That night, during dinner with the family, Troy Jr. stood up to announce that he and Lana had fallen for each other, and that she was now his girlfriend. I'll take care of the kids, he said confidently. And our lawyers will shut down Ethan's ridiculous demands. But Troy Sr. raised his hand calmly. You need your own lawyer. The company won't cover your lies. Ethan's already suffered enough. A tense silence filled the room. Ethan's father spoke next. Why not? Ethan deserves a proper defense. We've got lawyers who handle this kind of slander. Troy Sr. didn't blink. This isn't slander. It's truth. The DNA results prove it. Ethan isn't the father. You and Lana have lied from the start. He continued. The company has strict rules on personal conduct. You broke every one. If our lawyers get involved, it'll be to enforce company policy, not defend you. Troy Jr. exploded. You can't do that. I'm the CEO. Troy Sr. gave a chilling smile. I own 70% of this company. I'm chairman of the board. That means I can override anything you do. If our lawyers get involved, it'll be to address your violations, period. Furious, Troy Jr. stormed out, kicking his chair aside. In the hallway, he stopped, breathing heavily. Troy Sr. followed. As he passed him, he leaned in, his voice a deadly whisper. If I find out anything else, I'll bury you so deep, even the devil won't be able to find you. Got it. Troy Jr. froze, shaken by the threat, then forced a smirk, trying to act unbothered. And how do you think you'll pull that off, old man? Troy Jr. snapped. I've got powerful connections too. Try me, and you'll find out I don't go down quietly. Troy Sr. didn't even look back. He just gave a casual pat on the shoulder, cold and dismissive. Take care of yourself, son. Keep pushing me, and you won't live long enough to see any of those brilliant little plans of yours take root. Later that night, back in his apartment, Troy Sr. sat at his desk, old, polished wood marked by years of use, flipping slowly through his Rolodex. His fingers stopped at a familiar name. He picked up the phone and dialed the University of St. Christopher's Crossing. The next morning over breakfast, Randall and Troy Jr. surrounded him, desperate to use the company's legal team. After looking over the lawsuit paperwork, they'd realized just how damaging it was. Dragging the case out might be their only shot. But the old man wasn't having it. If I hear either of you so much as whisper to one of our lawyers, he warned, you'll be out on your asses before you can blink. This is a complete misuse of company resources. Do I make myself clear? He didn't wait for a response. He walked out and let the weight of his words do the rest. Back at his desk, Troy Sr. made another call. Good morning. This is Professor Prescott. I'd like to speak with Professor Graves if he's available. It's quite important. Moments later, a warm voice came through the line. Troy, been a while, my friend. How are you? Mentally? Still sharp. Physically? Not so much, Troy Sr. said, tone sober. But that's another story. I need a favor, and I wouldn't ask if there were another option. You've got it, Malcolm Graves replied easily. You always backed me. What do you need? I need to borrow two of your staff, Ethan Prescott and Sienna Cole. Malcolm hesitated. Ethan, I understand. But Sienna? She came to me not long ago. Said she'd heard rumors about Ethan's marriage, suspected something dark had happened. She wanted to reconnect with him. From what I've heard, I think they already have. They have, Troy Sr. confirmed. It's more important than ever. When do you want them? Can you be here in 2 hours? I'll be there in 30 minutes, Graves said. I understand what's at stake. That afternoon, Graves arrived and was quietly shaken to see how frail his old friend had become. Time had worn on him, but his eyes were still sharp with purpose. Before Ethan and Sienna joined them, the two men shared a private moment, unspoken understanding between longtime allies. In Malcolm's office, Ethan, Sienna, Troy Sr., and Graves gathered. The moment between Ethan and his grandfather was deeply emotional, unspoken words hanging in the air between them. Years of distance crumbled in seconds. Ethan, Troy Sr. began directly, how would you feel about taking over the company? Coming to live with me? Ethan blinked, caught off guard. Wait, what? What about Dad? And Troy? I'm sick, his grandfather said plainly. It's getting worse. And I can't keep pretending they're running the company. They're destroying it. I've seen what you're capable of. It's time. Ethan reached for Sienna's hand. I don't know what to say. Why now? Why didn't you tell me sooner? I had my reasons, the old man said. But you deserve this chance. And you're not alone in this, are you? He looked at Sienna knowingly. I'm building us a home, Ethan said. A family home, Sienna added with a laugh. So much for taking things slow. Ethan looked at her, surprised by the certainty in her voice. Do you want me to stop the meds? As soon as possible, she said, stepping closer. I want to have a family with you, if you're ready. Then, to everyone's surprise, Sienna stood and kissed Ethan right there in front of the others. I took my last pill last night, she whispered. That answer your question? Troy Sr. cleared his throat, a rare smile tugging at his lips. Ethan, Sienna, you're both still part of this company. The office is under an hour away. Ethan looked at Sienna. She gave him a nod of encouragement, her support clear. Turning to his grandfather, Ethan asked, What about my father and brother? Leave them to me, Troy Sr. replied. Once you're in charge, they won't be able to interfere. And believe me, I've got my own unfinished business with both of them. Ethan took a breath. When do you want me to start? Are you really going to do this? Troy Sr. asked, his voice quieter now, hopeful. Ethan nodded. Yes, Grandpa. We're ready. Relief flooded Troy Sr.'s face. That makes me incredibly proud. But I won't be around forever. The pain's getting worse. Malcolm built a private care clinic for people like me. I plan to check in there within the next 10 days. There was a heavy silence. Then Sienna, always the one to say what others wouldn't, asked, Why all the secrecy? Because Randall and Troy will stop at nothing to keep control, he said. Ethan's already a problem for them. I had to threaten Troy Jr. just to keep him from using the company's lawyers against him. Malcolm nodded solemnly. That's why we've created a plan to protect both of you, especially now. He turned to his old friend. Should I explain it? Or do you want to? Troy Sr. sighed, his voice barely above a whisper. You do it. I'm too damn tired. Once Troy passed, Malcolm turned to Ethan and Sienna with quiet gravity. When the time comes, we'll send a message to trusted managers across the company's offices and factories. Everything will lock down immediately. No one in or out. Ethan raised an eyebrow. Lock it down how? I'm writing software, Malcolm said. Something like ransomware. Only ethical. It'll secure every system until the dust settles. All employees will be sent home, with full pay, of course. We've planned every step. Ethan and Sienna exchanged glances, stunned by the sheer scale of the operation. What about us? Ethan asked. What's our part in this? You'll be told when it's time, Malcolm replied. But not before the will is read. That's when everything becomes official. Until then, stay quiet. Stay still. Sienna frowned. And Randall? Troy. Already handled, Troy Sr. said, his voice heavy with fatigue. I'll leave you a letter. For now, it's safer if you don't know too much. Ethan's voice cracked slightly. Grandpa, can I visit you at the clinic? No, son, the old man said firmly. I want to face my end alone. You won't want to see me like that. This is our final goodbye. He paused. Just promise me one thing. Look after your mother. She's innocent in all this, like you. Ethan nodded slowly. I promise. We'll take care of her. With that, their goodbyes were said. Ethan left with Sienna beside him, his heart heavy. Back at Ethan's apartment, they sat quietly, trying to absorb the moment. After a long pause, Ethan finally spoke. I'm going to miss him. He was more of a father to me than my actual dad ever was. All my father ever cared about was Troy. Sienna didn't respond with words. She simply pulled him into a hug and kissed him. I know, she whispered. 2 weeks later, Ethan had just wrapped up negotiations with a contractor to finish their house in the woods when the call came. The news hit hard. Troy Sr. was gone. Colin had recommended the contractor, known for both speed and precision. At Ethan's insistence, they pushed the build forward. The house was no longer a quiet retreat. It had become a legacy. 5 bedrooms, 2 living rooms, modern amenities, and a geothermal heating system. Power came from solar panels and twin wind turbines. Ethan sat outside holding the news in his hands when Sienna found him. She placed her hand over his, saying nothing. It feels like something's been ripped out of me, Ethan whispered. The following day, Ethan received a call from the probate attorney, summoning him to the reading of the will. As he and Sienna drove through the city, he noticed a black sedan tailing them. Trusting his instincts, Ethan pulled into a busy mall parking lot. Just as he was about to confront the car, another black sedan appeared. A woman stepped out and approached the driver's side. Ethan cracked the window, engine still running and foot ready on the gas. The woman flashed her badge. FBI. We're here to protect you until the estate is settled. Just follow our lead, and at the will reading, act like we're not here. Inside the law office, Ethan left Sienna in the waiting room and stepped into the conference room, where his father, mother, and Troy Jr. were already seated. Troy Jr. sneered. Look who finally showed. Here to see if you'll get a scrap? Don't worry, I'll make sure you walk out with nothing, you little rat. The lawyer, seated at the head of the table, didn't hesitate. Control yourself, Mr. Prescott, or I will remove you. Am I clear? Troy opened his mouth to argue, but the lawyer raised his voice just slightly. I said, am I clear? Randall tried to jump in, but the lawyer shut him down with a single raised hand. Enough. One more outburst, and you'll finish this from the hallway. His tone shifted. Now that we've cleared the theatrics, let's begin. Ethan, momentarily distracted, thought the lawyer reminded him of Gandalf, calm and wise, but terrifying when pushed. A quiet force you didn't want to cross. Then came the reading. To my only son, Ethan Randall Prescott, I leave everything I own within this office. He is now the rightful chairman of Prescott Aeronautical Industries. The room erupted. What? Ethan thought, reeling. Only son? But Dad is my father. Isn't he? His mother gave a faint smile, almost bittersweet. But Randall and Troy lost it. I'm his son. Randall shouted. Troy is my son too. This is a joke. The lawyer didn't flinch. He calmly pressed a button, and 4 large men entered, stone-faced, built like soldiers. One leaned toward Randall. You sure you want to push this, old man? Randall deflated instantly, retreating into silence. But Troy wasn't done. He lunged across the table, screaming, I'll eliminate you, you arrogant bastard. Before he could reach Ethan, he was yanked back into his seat, holding his wrist in pain. The lawyer continued without missing a beat. Mr. Prescott, I anticipated your tantrum. That's why these men are here. He turned to Randall. As for you, the DNA test proved you are not Mr. Prescott's biological son. Your mother's divorce was not without merit. Therefore, Troy Jr. is not his grandson. The room went still. Then came the final blow. When Mr. Prescott discovered how you treated your wife and misused company assets, he made a decision. He proposed to her. She accepted. And now, she is carrying Ethan Randall Prescott's child. He let the silence linger before adding, we also have notarized affidavits and DNA evidence confirming that the second son of Margot Prescott Callahan and Troy Prescott is, in fact, Ethan Randall Prescott. Randall's fury exploded. His face turned red, veins bulging as he practically vibrated with rage. You filthy strumpet, he bellowed at his wife. You cheated on me? You'll regret this. I'll sell you to a Russian brothel. The lawyer, still calm, gave a slight nod. 2 men moved in and restrained Randall, who thrashed against their grip like a wild animal. Let's get this on record, the lawyer said evenly, and ensure those threats are documented. He turned toward the men holding both Randall and Troy Jr. I'd also like it noted that both of you are involved in significant financial crimes. We have evidence, clear, damning evidence, of embezzlement. Nearly $6 million siphoned from company accounts. He paused, letting the words sink in, then added. On top of that, you've funneled restricted tech to foreign competitors and rogue states. We're talking about industrial espionage of the highest order. The room seemed to hold its breath. Multiple federal agencies, IRS, FBI, Homeland Security, are now fully involved. And whether you cooperate or not, gentlemen, you'll be speaking with them. He turned to the guards again. Take them into federal custody. As the two men were escorted out, stunned silence filled the conference room. Outside the office, Lana stood waiting. She had followed Ethan and Sienna in earlier, telling herself she was only there to support Ethan as she had promised. But when the doors opened again, and she saw Troy and his father being led away in handcuffs, her knees nearly buckled. What just happened? She wondered, heart pounding. Desperate, she grabbed the sleeve of one of the agents. What's going on? Where are they taking them? I can't say, the man replied, voice flat. They're going to assist in an ongoing federal investigation. Another man, standing nearby, offered more. They're wanted for multiple felonies, fraud, embezzlement, industrial espionage, and trafficking restricted technology. They're not coming back anytime soon. Lana's stomach dropped. Who's going to run Prescott Industries now? She asked, voice trembling. The second man gave a dry chuckle. Who do you think? The guy who walked in holding that snitch in his arms, he said, motioning toward Ethan. Lana's world tilted on its axis. Somehow, Ethan had one. Troy's empire, everything she'd been promised, was gone. The dream life she'd built, the designer shoes, the weekends in Cabo, the private schools for the kids, it all crumbled like sand in her hands. Still in shock, she stumbled toward Troy's car. It was unlocked. The key fob sat carelessly in the center console. Without a word, she got in and drove home, dazed. 1 month later, Lana's world had changed dramatically. She was barely getting by. Her modest income, what little she had left, could barely cover the basics, let alone the extravagant lifestyle she once flaunted. She now called it the former life, and it felt like it belonged to someone else. Her biggest concern? The kids' tuition. The costs were unbearable. Unless she found a new source of income or managed to push the burden on to Ethan, she'd have to pull them out. But that would mean removing Sienna from the picture. She still saw Sienna as an intruder, a threat. If she could just win Ethan back, things could return to the way they used to be. During her time with Troy, Lana had embraced excess, lavish parties, expensive wine, late nights, and at Troy's insistence, multiple cosmetic procedures. A tummy tuck, breast lift, facelift, lip injections, it had all been done. She no longer resembled the natural beauty Ethan had once fallen for. Now, she looked like a version of Cher, older, slightly artificial, a flicker of her past self. But still, she believed Ethan could be swayed. She became obsessed. One morning, she parked across from Ethan's house, watching. If Ethan came out, she'd wait and try another day. If Sienna left first, she'd strike. Soon, a blue Nissan Rogue turned the corner and drove off. Lana didn't hesitate. She checked her makeup in the mirror, touched up her lipstick, and stepped out. She walked toward the house, head held high, trying to summon some semblance of confidence. Ethan had designed and built the house himself, and Lana planned to comment on it, maybe even suggest changes, as if she still knew what was best for him. The house stood proudly on a slope, its sleek facade angled toward the north. Large windows with dark wooden shutters gave it a warm, modern feel. She paused briefly at the front step, adjusted her blouse to show more cleavage, and knocked. The sound echoed ominously. She waited. Then, just as she was about to turn away, the door opened. Ethan stood there, his expression unreadable. Hi, Ethan, Lana purred. You're looking good. Life seems to agree with you. Ethan's voice was flat. Lana, I figured you'd show up. What do you want? I just want to talk, she said, trying to soften her voice. Aren't you going to invite me in? Ethan sighed. Let's just get this over with. He led her into his office, the nearest room to the front door. He wasn't letting her roam the house. He already had a good idea of what she was after. Sit, he said, gesturing to the chair across from his desk. He sat down. So what is it, Lana? What do you want? Lana tried to compose herself. She glanced around. Aren't you going to show me the rest of the house? No, Ethan said firmly. Let's cut to it. Why are you here? She tilted her head, softening her voice to a near whisper. Ethan, don't you get it? We belong together. We have a history. 2 beautiful kids. I need you back. Ethan studied her, his eyes narrowing. What is she doing? Does she really believe this'll work? He shook his head slowly. We do have history, he said quietly. But history isn't enough. But from where I'm standing, Ethan said, his voice cool, that history looks very different from yours. You must be out of your mind if you think there's even a chance of us getting back together. Lana didn't flinch. She kept her tone composed, almost pleading. I admit I made mistakes, but I can't raise the kids alone. I need your help. Ethan leaned forward, eyes hard. They're not even my kids, he snapped. I've got proof they're Troy's. So why should I lift a finger for you? Lana was quick to counter. But Ethan, you raised them. You were there. You've been a great father to them. Troy never did anything for them. You're all they know. Ethan let out a long, weary sigh. I'm only doing this because my mom, their grandmother, begged me to. She made me promise to look after them. That's the only reason. Don't get it twisted. This isn't about helping you. It's about making sure you don't get your hands on any more money. Lana blinked, stunned. This wasn't the conversation she had expected. Ethan had always given in to her before. Now, he was like a wall. She shifted tactics. Ethan, I know I hurt you, she said, her voice softening, seductive. But it was all because of Troy. He manipulated me. He used me. Now that he's gone, we could fix this. We can help each other again. She stepped a little closer, voice dropping to a whisper. I know how to please a man, Ethan. Better than anyone. Dump that cold woman, Sienna, and come back to me. We could be a family again, the 4 of us. Ethan sat in silence. For a moment, Lana believed she was winning him over. She felt a surge of confidence until he spoke. You're acting like a courtesan, Ethan said coldly. You look and behave like someone I don't even recognize. The woman I once cared about? She's gone. Long gone. Our past is something I'd rather forget. Lana's smile faded as Ethan's words continued to cut. I want nothing to do with you. Not now. Not ever. He stood and walked to the window, looking out before continuing. As for the kids, I've made arrangements. Arya will stay at St. Christopher's Crossing. Noah will live with my mom until he's ready for college. You can't provide for them, so I've taken care of that. But don't expect a single dime from me. Lana felt like she'd been punched. You still owe me, she muttered, almost instinctively. Ethan turned sharply. I don't owe you anything. In fact, if you try anything at all, I'll file charges. Fraud. Extortion. I'll tell the authorities the truth. Those kids aren't mine, and you cheated me out of money during the divorce. His voice grew cold. Now get out. I'm done. Before Lana could respond, the door creaked open behind them. Sienna stepped in, glowing with quiet confidence. Her hand rested gently on her stomach. Ethan glanced at her. Come on in, he said. My visitor was just leaving. Sienna walked over and kissed Ethan on the cheek. Then she leaned close and whispered something into his ear. I was right. There are 2 of them. Ethan's smile widened. He placed a protective hand on her belly and looked back at Lana. Lana's heart stopped. You're pregnant? She gasped. Sienna nodded proudly. Yes. I'm giving Ethan the family he deserves. We're having twins. I'm 3 months along. She beamed. The first ultrasound only showed 1. But the second? 2 boys. She kissed Ethan again, this time on the lips, then whispered to him. Boys. Lana's world shattered. You can't do this to me, she said, her voice trembling. You're going to take my children, your niece and nephew? Ethan's face hardened. I don't know who Arya and Noah are to me anymore. They're your children, not mine. He paused, his eyes darkening. And as for Randall and Troy Jr., I know the truth now. They were never truly family. I haven't heard from them since their arrests, and I don't care to. Lana stumbled, the emotional weight too much to carry. Ethan didn't stop. You have no support left. Margot wants nothing to do with you. You're isolated, and you can't even get hired. So I found something for you. He held out a business card with an address and phone number. It's simple work. Physical labor. But it pays enough to keep you off the street. Lana took the card without a word. She had applied for dozens of jobs, rejected every time. This felt like her last option. Sienna stepped closer, arms crossed. This is your last chance to stay involved in your kids' lives. If you don't take it, we're done with you. Arya will stay at school. Noah will stay with Margot. They both know what you did. Lana's lip trembled. Sienna gestured toward the door. Time to go. As Lana turned, Sienna added one final blow. In the end, I won. I have Ethan. I'm carrying his children. You bet on the wrong man, and you lost. She stepped forward, eyes sharp. If you even think about trying anything again, I'll stop you. I'll protect Ethan with everything I have. Do you understand me? Lana stood frozen, humiliated. Yes, I understand, she whispered. Good, Sienna said. No direct contact with Ethan. Ever. Only through me. Now get out. Lana walked out, her heels clicking against the floor, her future slipping further away with every step. She had nothing left. Inside, Sienna curled up in Ethan's lap. He wrapped his arms around her, and she let out a contented sigh. I've waited almost 20 years for this, she whispered. And it all came true, thanks to Lana's foolishness. She stood up, tugging Ethan with her. Time to practice, she said with a playful grin. Practice? Ethan asked, confused. Sienna laughed. For number 3. She pulled him toward the bedroom, both of them laughing as the door softly closed behind them.